I'm gonna try all that again. I was going off on way too many tangents, but I wanted to talk a bit today about something I saw Foster Tech said, because I responded to it. I think it's a interesting position. I don't know. So anyways, Foster Tech had said, I don't care what the CEO of Brave, I don't care if he's homophobic, Brave is open source, I can just use it. It doesn't affect me. And fair point. Like the Brave CEO isn't fucking going out sending transphobic fucking messages all over your browser, I'm sure there's transgender people that work on Brave because it's open source, Well, that's just kind of how it goes. My dog needs to stop dancing because I'm not going to give him my tea cake. I just gave him a bunch of french fries. Anyways, so there's this, so I had said, people kind of need to keep, like, their opinions out of the workplace, but we've sort of reached a point where that's not really possible anymore. And what has happened is there was a pendulum, right? And the pendulum at the very beginning was blind meritocracy. The internet was anonymous, you were anonymous. You just posted code and it got accepted. Your real name didn't even have to be attached to it. Fast forward to social media, and now suddenly that person publishing code is a gay man, or he's a black man, or a woman, or whatever. And it turns out when you're not blind, when you can actually see things, then their code stopped mattering so much. Then it suddenly became, oh, you can't code because you're a woman. But FreeBSD decided after Gamergate, because that shit got going out of hand. If you want to look up a lecture that Ben Rice did, one called What Unix Cost Us, and he talks all about what happened in Gamergate. And people would get tired of being discriminated against for their for like the color of their skin or their orientation or their political beliefs or whatever, so they would leave these projects, and then they started losing developers. And people started, bringing up cancel culture because they didn't want to be associated with bigoted projects. So the Code of Conduct was born. And this Code of Conduct, people say that I don't want to say it's like discriminating against people that are intolerant, but the people I have seen that generally don't like codes of conducts are the kind of people that hate me. And I'm white as snow, what the fuck? Like, why do you hate me? I'm a cool guy. I'm cool, you don't have to fuck around with me, man. But, in these projects, you get people like me that fucking hate everybody. I'm kidding. But, and so, like, it becomes really hard to defend these people that say they are being discriminated against when, one, I don't see the evidence of them being discriminated against. What I see is they are violating fucking basic manners, basically. That's what these codes of conduct boil down to, because I've had to read a few of them. I've had to fucking read these codes of conducts, and if I mention that a project even has a code of conduct, no matter what the fuck it says, people will say it's too much, it's too overreaching. Now, I have specific examples, actually. OpenBSD does not have a written code of conduct. However, there is a forum post that links, if you look up, if they have a code of conduct that says OpenBSD's code of conduct is basically, if you need a code of conduct to know how to be a decent human being, you're probably not welcome. I think it didn't say decent, it just said be a human. Anyways, it said basically along the lines of that. If you're being an asshole, you get kicked out. That's the line we're drawing. Gentoo's code of conduct. Speak English and don't be a dick. Easy, right? Too far. Because they say it could be abused. What does don't be a dick mean? And that's pretty obvious. Don't be a fucking dick. But again, the more people I see that are overly political, they are kind of dickheads about their political beliefs. Where there's a reason they are spouting it off in an open source project and not keeping it to them fucking selves. So FreeBSD decided they needed a code of conduct to keep people from being racist, homophobes, etc. normal people. And that ended up being a good thing. But what had happened over the years was the pendulum swung the other way. And what happened when the pendulum swung the other way is people started feeling discriminated against. And that's what I was just talking about, was these people that were the racist and the homophobes were being kicked out of their own projects. And then, like, what the fuck do you do from there? You gotta fork it, and then they feel left out. But the problem is, like, the people that are being kicked out generally are the kind of people that are stirring up trouble, that are causing issues. And so, I'm not, like, outright defending codes of conduct, but I will say that it's really hard to defend people that are very anti-code of conduct, because these people don't really remember the history of why they had to be there in the first place. And what'll happen is eventually this will go too far and the pendulum will swing back the other way, and people will trust in the blind meritocracy. But what I'm seeing because this kind of relates to, like, the anti-woke crowd and stuff like video games and entertainment, where it starts off pretty easy. Don't be preachy. I just don't want to be preached to in my video game. I don't like having this kind of material be so overt and distracting me from the rest of the game. I don't relate to these experiences. I want a game that is and actually, not to go off on a tangent, because that was why I re-recorded this video in the first place, but I really hate the marketing, "this is not made for you." If you've ever heard that from, like, a game developer or something, or a movie studio, they'll say, "This movie isn't made for you, it's specifically for people of this demographic." And I always thought that was kind of a cop-out. The advertiser-friendly version of that would be our game or movie or whatever has diverse, rich experiences that will that anybody will be able to learn from and relate to, even if they haven't experienced it themselves or something. That would be the optimal marketing, because when you get exclusionary, then, like, not very corporate of you, basically. So but what has happened in open source projects is now social media is a thing. So now not only do I know that you're gay and you're black, but I also know that you're a communist. And on your open source project page, you post about fucking East Germany. And I think that's where people really kind of get irked, is because your workplace, your work life is no longer separate from your personal life. And that's a very hard balance to keep. Like, for when I work, it's a fucking physical location, so I just don't fucking rant about communism to people. Not that I would anyways. But it's pretty easy not to do. Now, if your page for MPV has fucking political posts on it, like, what the fuck? What are you doing? I followed this page for MPV news, not for politics. And so these people have, it really, again, started in Gamergate, where there was this argument, everything is political. And open source especially is kind of political, but I'm going to kind of dispel that a bit, because open source, the open source definition, originally written for Debian and the Open Source Initiative, they had written a set of rules, and one of those rules is, do not discriminate based on race, gender, religion, political affiliation, etc., etc. And people kind of misconstrue that a bit, because there is a rule that you cannot actually discriminate based on political affiliation. And the specific example they used was, if you write MySQL or SQLite or something, or SQLite, whatever you want to call it, you cannot say, if we're Catholic, we cannot discriminate and not allow abortion activists to use our software. And in the same sense, if your software is made by abortion activists, you are not allowed to restrict it from use by pro-life activists, or anti-abortion activists, as I call them. Just for sake of I don't even know why I do that. There's no real reason for it. Alright, too much of a tangent. But, anyways, where was I even going with that? Holy shit. So what people misconstrue is that they think, oh, well, if I really like Weimar 33, I should be able to contribute to NixOS and also rant about Weimar 33 all day. But if NixOS really doesn't like Weimar 33, Weimar, however the fuck you pronounce that, if they don't like Weimar 33, they might do Dresden 45. That was so stupid. I'm kidding, I'm good. Alright, they may kick you out of the project because you won't shut the fuck up about Nazi Germany. And that's kind of where we're at right now. The pendulum has swung in this direction where we need a code of conduct because people have shown that they cannot be blind when they can see. You can't fake blindness, basically. No matter how hard you try, there's always some bias there. And it turns out that a lot of people are actually kind of bigoted. So, you know, I'm probably no fucking exception. You know, they're that fucking unconscious bias or whatever the fuck, you know. I'm sure I've got conscious bias too. You know, I just don't think about it. Anyways, so, but you cannot actively discriminate the use of the software by people of different political affiliations. That does not mean, however, that you have to include them in your group. If you decide you're going to be again, we'll go with pro-abortion group and you're developing software, the only thing you have to do is you have to allow the anti-abortion people to fork your software and contribute in their own way, whether it be downstream or just a separate fork or whatever. You have to, that is part of free software, is you have to have the freedom to collaborate and the freedom to fork, as well as like freedom to redistribute and freedom to edit the source code, read the source code. I can't remember the fourth freedom. But people sort of, again, misdefine it as you can't ban me because of my politics from your GitHub issue tracker or whatever. This is not the case. You can very much, you can do that to people, as you don't have to include them. I have used fucking distros, not the one I was just using, but I have used distros made by like actual neo-Nazis that probably wouldn't want me anywhere near their project. Just for fun, you know, like, I was even talking to him. It just happens. You just encounter these people on the internet. But, you know, that's kind of what I was getting at, though, is that there is a need for these things, and I really kind of don't. My next video is actually going to be dispelling another fucking Rossman myth, and I think I've already done it before, but I need to reiterate it because people keep saying shit, and it's fucking annoying. But when we're talking about free software, you know, freedom respecting software, not the bullshit that Rossman says is freedom respecting, where it just doesn't data mine you. No, actual freedom respecting software. We're really at this point where I am starting to see the pendulum swing the other way, and I'm worried that people that don't learn from history will be doomed to repeat it, and this is the history that they will be doomed to repeat. Is, like, I don't want to say Lunduke is obviously extremely transphobic, which is not a good place to be if you're into open source software. That's a really bad position to take. But I haven't seen a whole lot of what he says outside of his YouTube channel, which he heavily censors so that it doesn't get banned. But people apparently hate the fucking guy, and there's probably good reasons for that. I just don't know what they are. But if what they say is true, I'm kind of starting to see a little bit of that oh, I'm just anti-woke, I am not trying to discriminate against people, but it's going to very quickly, his fan base is very going to quickly turn into any gay code is bad, any black code is bad. We need to be a, quote, meritocracy, and by that I mean all white, all male, you know. And again, I sound like a fucking liberal saying all this, and I'm really not, but this really just does seem like the obvious, like, end game for this thing. Because I've seen that happen before, you know, like, shit, it's happening already. There's a fucking culture war going on, and people sort of hide their true intentions through progressively stricter and stricter arguments, you know? That's where we're gonna end up, I do think. But this video's gone on long enough. It's fucking 16 minutes already. Jesus Christ, you don't want to hear me talk for that long. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.